Hello, hello, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. I'm your host, Eric Murphy. This is Skeptic Generation, and we need to talk. Hey, everybody, it is Super Bowl Sunday, February 8th, 2026. Other than knowing it's the Super Bowl, I have no idea what else is going on. Instead, I want to have a conversation about perspective. I want us to be talking about it, and joining me today is a dear friend of mine with unnaturally red hair, a trans pinko friend who strikes fear into the hearts of conservatives. Atticus, how's it going?
It goes really well. I'm having a great time. It's a great rainy day in Portland. It's gloomy. It's wonderful. I'm more trans than ever.
What does that mean?
About it.
Yeah, look, you know what? We can save the other stuff. More trans than ever, huh?
Yeah, no. Each day,
just
my
plumbing
powers accumulate like compounding interest.
Okay.
And each day, I continue to become more trans than the day before.
Dig it.
Yeah. Every week, IKEA sends me a brand new blahage to put onto my bed, and I now have a stack of them just because that's how powerful I am as a trans person.
What is a blahage?
Oh, I'm internet coded.
How do you spell that?
BLAHAJ.
Okay. Go on. It's a shark.
It's the trans shark.
Yeah.
Basically, trans women stereotypically like stuffed animals. I'm ambivalent about them. But most trans women that I know have, at one time or another, owned the IKEA shark. And so the IKEA shark has become a trans icon.
I love that. I'm throwing it up on the screen. All right, so let me just get the size down a little bit. Get this down here. That one. Yeah. That one. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
They come in multiple sizes. Some of them are like this big, and the one I have is like this big, and there's one that's even bigger than that. I choose to have my plushies be manageable.
Got it. You just got like a monthly subscription to get another one sent?
No. They know how trans I am. They know how powerful I am, and so they offer me a blahage once every week to keep me satisfied.
Got it. That is one of the more online things I've heard you say. I wanted to talk about some political things, and we're going to get there. But you wanted to have some fights. You want people to call in.
I'm feeling feisty today.
Yeah. What do you want people to call in about? And
I've been having feels about a lot of online discourse saying that trans women were socialized as men, therefore trans women will never share camaraderie with women in certain ways. And my honestly probably lukewarm take, if you ask any trans woman or trans man if they were socialized as the opposite sex, most of them will say no, because I was not socialized as a guy. I was never a guy's guy. I played sports for a very long time. I was relatively active, but I was femme, and I was queer, and I was neurodivergent, and everybody but me knew that. And so when it came to picking people for teams or making friends, I was not treated as a dude. I was treated as an effeminate guy, as a very distinctly not a guy person. Maybe not a girl, because other social restrictions at the time were in place. But I was very much not a guy. And I'll fight people that say otherwise, because I was
okay.
I was never one of the boys.
Well, if you want to call and you want to argue with Atticus here, I would love to see it. The phone number is 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Our call screener's on the line. We want to hear from you. Yeah.
But aside from me wanting to pick fights with your audience, Eric,
I want to pick fights with my audience.
Okay.
So the thing that I kind of want to pick fights about is political. Obviously, I've been going down that route. There have been less religious callers and more conversations about what's going on. And I think that's partially because for a lot of us, that's all we can think about right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that there was an accusation I was called a doomer. And there were conversations I've had with people who felt very two-dimensional and it's gotten under my skin.
Mhm.
And I think that I've done a pretty decent job at talking about what I'm upset about, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to lead to change. And I think the accusation of doomer happens when people go, oh, right, you have problems, you don't have solutions. You know, if you're not willing to vote along the Democrat Party line, then you're just in the way. You know, either do nothing or be a bitch. Those are your two choices. And I reject that. I think that I heard a framing this week that I really, really enjoyed, and I want to talk about it. The framing was the difference between revolt and revolution.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard this? Like as a
I've
difference?
heard I've watched the conversation happen on online spaces, either
Yeah.
between like Blue Sky or X or TikTok comments, but I've never actually been involved, and I haven't informed myself as to the appropriateness of what's going on.
Well, so people use different definitions, and so we definitely need to make sure we're on the same page so we can have that conversation. But the way that it was posed to me is that a revolt is what a people do when they can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
A revolution is what happens when you have a people who have a competing view of the way the world should be. And that competing view is fleshed out enough to do something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that when we look at the founding of this country, it's viewed as a revolution because it was based in principles and solidified in a way that had real effective power. And I think that there's a universe where that didn't happen. They were just really upset about the taxes, you know, but they didn't see these inalienable rights, you know, and these kind of Enlightenment principles. Instead, it was just a revolt that got put down. And I see where it is coalescing into these ideologies. We see it with Mamdani and in the DSA in New York. And so I guess what I'm saying is, personally, I think I need more ideology. And I think I'm not the only one. I think there are a lot of people who are reacting to what's going on in the news. And they are reacting. They're revolting. They can't take the boot on their neck anymore. But that doesn't mean that there's this cohesive unit. And I know that I've talked for the last couple of weeks about the difference between, you know, the atheist, skeptic, intelligentsia and black intelligentsia.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference is that black intelligentsia their goal is liberation. Their parents' goal was liberation. Their grandparents' goal was liberation. Their eyes have been on that prize the entire time. And because of that, they've been able to, a degree, weather a lot of bullshit. And because you have these professed, you know, intelligent skeptics, they go wherever the wind blows them. You know, they get swept up in the Daily Wire, you know, and it's because we don't have that kind of grounding, that kind of foundation. We don't have that ideology. And so I guess first, before we have the conversation, what are your thoughts? Does that ring true? Is there anything that I've said that's entirely off base?
No, I think you're closer than you think. I've heard conversations about the American Revolution reframe it as a revolt and not a revolution, because we didn't really change anything. Social order was not changed. Pecking order was not changed. It was simply who we report to that was changed. So if who the upper class reports to, and only who the upper class reports to, changes, is that a revolution? That's a good question. I'm not convinced that it is, and I'm not convinced that it isn't. I'm agnostic on that front, and I would love to see more research and discussion about it. But I think in terms of how we as a populace are going to weather these next 3 years and how we are going to recover from the last 10 is through a whole lot of solidarity and a whole lot of standing next to people that you really don't like. And that's
Agreed.
going to make a lot of people on the left not so happy, and I
Well,
understand.
I, you know, I guess I think it would be easier for me to stand side by side with people I don't necessarily agree with in this kind of community if I felt well grounded in where I was and not just somebody who was upset about what I saw in the news. You
Okay.
know? So I have my grievances, but I also don't want to turn this into the Eric yelling at clouds hour. So I do want people to call in about that as well. I'm going to put the phone number up one more time. This is a call-in show. We want to hear from you. The phone number is 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. We want to hear from you. Okay. So where do we pick up? I think this is a cry for help, you guys. I need your help. Help me figure out where this fits in, because I've got ideas, I've got thoughts, and they're quickly becoming non-negotiables for me, and I don't know how to get through that. Atticus, I was talking to you about a couple of non-negotiables, moving forward, right? We like the idea that we're going to weather this fascistic storm. We will. We may not like it, but we're going to be on the other side of it, most of us. The thing that scares me is the idea that when we do have the power to fix things, that we're going to immediately cave and just do half measures, and that upsets me more than anything, I think. And so I want to get out ahead of it. And there are a couple of things that I think we should be talking about that I don't see a lot of people talk about. And again, if you guys think I'm full of shit, tell me. So Atticus, I know I was talking to you about this before the show, but I'm going to bring it up again. Guys, we got to quit calling ICE the Gestapo. Like, yes, we're going to get into ideologies and all of that, but I do want to lay some groundwork and get some things off my mind. I didn't want to bring this up for like the last 2 months because it's a weird distinction to make. And I know I'm making a weird distinction. I get it. But I think we can actually learn from this. I think we need to stop calling the ICE the Gestapo, because there were other organizations throughout that time that are better analogies that we can use to learn. Right? My understanding of the way the Nazi Party went is it was originally a socialist political party. It wasn't always a strongman, fascistic, dictatorship style government. It was originally a political party. When you read writings about people who were originally supporters of that kind of Nazi party, the German National Socialist Party, they were very similar to what we think of when we talk about like Boogaloo Boys, 3%ers, Oath Keepers, those folks, right? You had people who would go into bars and start fights and were politically just heavy-handed and aggressive, violent, and they found a home in that party. They were the SH, I believe, is what they were called. Eventually, the SH, right, that kind of socialist party needed to break ties from the socialism piece. They needed to move away and really get this, swearing fealty to Hitler piece. When they did that, that's when you get the SS. I think that it would be useful to call ICE the SH, if only because if they ever do wind up saying, screw the Constitution, we are officially swearing fealty to Trump, we would have an analog that we can reach for to go, oh, hey, that's what that is. And then beyond that, right, like your Navy SEALs type, right, your leaders and your people who were really, really like high skilled SS people, those were your Gestapo. So why the fuck are we calling the Boogaloo Boys the Gestapo? They don't deserve that. Like, they're not the best of the best amongst themselves. Like, let's not do that. I think it's interesting seeing that comparison made. But when we do that, I think we are making it more difficult for us to actually get a good reading on what's going on. To that end, I think that we should stop doing Hitler comparisons. There are other dictators, you guys. Trump doesn't need to like commit genocide before he's considered a dictator. Like, take a look at, Rodrigo Duterte, right? Duterte was president of the Philippines. His strongman, dictatorial style got him elected in the same way that Trump was. He was like a proto-Trump. It was interesting watching that happen. He wound up creating his own kind of militarized group that was going to root out the corruption and the drugs from the Philippines. Really what it was this campaign of censorship and brutal control under Duterte. It was not too different. Currently, Duterte is at The Hague, being charged with crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court. He didn't need to get as bad as Hitler to be viewed and recognized as a dictator. I think that we're in an effective dictatorship. And I think that we have analogs that we can point to that very, very clearly can show that. But when we reach for the worst thing we can possibly think of, I think that we set a standard that we can't point to yet. And so I think we're getting false negatives on the dictatorship accusation. I've been talking a lot. Atticus, what's on your mind? What are your thoughts?
Point of historical correction,
please,
just slight,
is
that the Nazis were not socialists by a conventional kind of Marxist or left-wing sense. They used populist, anti-capitalist rhetoric to kind of win their elections, but they didn't implement any policies. They didn't actually believe in any of those policies, such as public ownership or means of production. Once they took power in 1933. So small correction there, but I think you're correct. I think the idea that the United States can continue being in a leadership capacity on the world stage without genuflecting, without apologizing, without a genuine mea culpa to our peers,
and demonstration of accountability
is wild. We cannot even come close to leading again. We've abdicated that position. We've ceded so much ground in terms of trade agreements, in terms of economic power to China, because they are the only other person. They're the only other country that could take that mantle. Realistically, they're not nearly as powerful as we are on either an economic or a militaristic perspective, but they're the only other option, and therefore people are looking at replacing the dollar standardization with China's monetary standard. They're looking to China to build infrastructure so that they can benefit from the trade agreements. They're like, we've lost a lot, and a lot of this isn't going to be felt for maybe 10 or 15 years. But when it comes time for that, and if we haven't actually done the work to demagify our society, our politics, our institutions, the United States is in for a world of hurt for the next century. Like, I don't believe people understand how big this issue is going to be if we don't hold those accountable.
Yeah. So talking about demagification, that does make me think of denazification. That does make me think about, Nuremberg. And the
completely
trials.
Unintentional, I swear.
I think that You're absolutely right, and I have other views on that I think is probably going to reign. It's probably going to ring similarly for a lot of our viewers. So I'm not going to get into the details there, but I think we're on the same page. It is interesting. I feel like there are a couple of like flags that have not come up yet that I'm wondering if they will. They say history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes, right? So are we going to see, this? I recently did a video for my buddy Drew. We talked about U.S. aid and how being really specific about where that aid went made a big difference in which groups were seen as guerrilla and terrorist groups in Southern and South and Central America. And it's soft power, right? We didn't need to send soldiers. We had this bigness, that through our own, it's not charity. What's the term I'm looking for?
Aid.
Yeah. Humanitarian
Okay, yes.
efforts. Even through our own humanitarian efforts, we saw wars and, the shattering of countries, rise and fall through just our aid. Elon Musk cut U.S. aid. What does that mean for Central and South America? And what does that mean for the people who, last time the United States had a civil war, you guys, France took over Mexico. Napoleon was like, that looks yummy, and Monroe Doctrine's not something I'm worried about at the moment, so yoink. I'm wondering if that flag's going to be raised soon. And you raised a couple more, and we'll see. But I don't know. We do have a caller. We have. Looks like he's still in the screening room though, so I'm going to let that continue. In the meantime, let's see. Are there any comments here that I need to take a look at? I think we're looking okay. I do want to say that if you want to make sure that your comment gets read, leave it as a super chat. We definitely make sure that we read the super chats at the end of every episode. Skeptic Generation, your audio is clipping a bit. Might be too high. All right. If that is the case, then let me just hit the compressor here. And now it should not be able to clip. Okay. I think we're good. Any other historical flags that you've come across that you're just like, ooh, what's, is this going to happen?
No, so as much of a historian as I am, I'm much more of I'm much more reform minded.
Okay.
I like getting into the nitty gritty of policy of what guardrails do we need? How do we ensure that this doesn't happen again? How do we construct a society where this type of thing can't be? Because we're all kind of in agreement at this point, according to the most recent polling data, that Trump is not doing a good job. You can argue specifics. The data will disagree. Economically, the Republicans have always been worse off than the Democrats. If you care about your 401k, you should usually vote for a Democrat. Immigration. Yeah, go ahead.
So I feel like before we take our caller, then we should probably talk about the difference between ideology and party.
Yes.
Because I am thinking about one should do this, one should not do that. I want to see a world where this happens, but I'm not necessarily wanting to start a political party. So how are you differentiating those things?
So for those who are watching, I'm an ideologue. I'm not a partisan. I would be open to voting for a Republican if certain metrics were met. So if ideologically they were able to advocate for left-wing policies, I would vote for that party. They will never do that, I'm aware, but I'm not beholden to a specific party. I'm beholden to my ideology, to my values. So the things that I like when profits don't take precedent over people. I like worker-focused care and laws and regulation. I think taxes should probably be paid mostly by those who have the most and paid by those who have the least when necessary, and not anytime sooner. I think most of our government should be organized around providing commodities to the public to improve quality of life. That's my general, very nebulous ideology. We can get more into specifics if we wanted, but so the Democrats often don't meet that. So I often don't support the Democrats. That is not to say that I don't vote Democratic. That's not to say I'm not a member of the Democratic Party. It's to say.
Well, it looks like they finally got Atticus. Godspeed. No, I'm just kidding. Atticus has connection issues. They're going to be back in just a second. They usually are. I'm sorry. That's so terrible. Guys, we live in dystopia. Okay, while I wait for Atticus, let me grab our first caller then. I think that's probably best. We have a caller in New Zealand, Knox. Hey, Addie, you're back. Sorry, I already started taking our first caller. I didn't know how.
No, you're totally fine. Didn't mean to edge you with my riveting perspectives.
No, I want to know. Knox, hold on for me, okay? We're going to finish up with Atticus.
You're a good man.
All right, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say that realistically, we should be focused on who has the most power against the thing that most of us are against.
Mm-hmm.
Take the apparatus, use it to push forward, and if it's use it to mold our own needs. So I'm a Democrat because I believe there is room in the party for me to make a difference, and because there is room for voices like mine to advocate for workers. And if I do that on a local level, then at some point the bench at the local level will be ready to go to the next bench. So the city council has. I love this about Portland, and I've talked about it once before. Portland doesn't have a Republican caucus. We have a Democratic caucus and a Socialist caucus. And right now, the Socialists have a very strong bench. Elections are coming up, so people are going to start getting reelected, and then people are going to start looking for the next thing. So the next mayoral election, the next state Senate election, state House election, congressional election, even U.S. Senate election or governorship. We will have socialists that will have the governing experience to put their hat forward into that ring as a Democrat, probably, because that's where the apparatus is. And if they get nominated, you will have a sitting socialist governing in some sort of capacity. So you have the ability to use this infrastructure. Use it. Take it. It's there for you. And that's the coolest part about it. That's my opinion. Just don't do the work of building a new party. Take over the party. And it's been talked about for years, but now we're finally at an inflection point where the old guard is actively dying and decomposing in office, which is horrifying as it may be, but it does mean that there is a huge bench that is going to start opening up at entry-level elected offices, and people should be taking it.
I like that. Thank you. All right.
You're welcome.
We have a caller who is not in the United States, in New Zealand, and they want to know how to interact with people they disagree with, who they might view as ungrounded, and how to have those conversations. Knox, you're live on the show.
Hey, Eric.
Hello.
Yeah, cool. Nice to talk to you again. Hi, Atticus. I don't think I've ever spoken to you before.
Hi, Knox. How you doing?
Being on the show. I am very well. I am a shift worker. It is, far too early in the morning here for most people, which is nice because it means I got the place to myself.
What time is it over there?
On that. Pardon?
What time is it?
It's just up. Well, it's like 6:29 in the morning, so sun's kind of coming up, but I'm on the west coast, so
okay,
it's very cold and wet even when it's warm. Yeah.
And I often complain to Eric about starting too early, having to wake up at 8:30 on a Sunday. But.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I start work at like 5 p.m. tonight, and then I'm going till like 2 in the morning. So.
Oh my gosh! Well, glad you've gotten up early enough to call in.
Well, actually, I woke up at like 4 in the afternoon yesterday. So, like, anyway, just quick clarification on that point, Eric. I wasn't really kind of calling in to ask about it. Normally, I just kind of watch the show. I know you and I have spoken a few times before.
We have.
You mentioned before that you're in spaces where you're hearing a lot of things, and you was a call out for help that you wanted to kind of hear how other people sort of deal with, how you get like angry people wanting a revolt versus actual revolution. How do you grind your ideas? So, yeah, I thought I'd like call in and let you know what I went through when I was looking at moving countries and making those decisions and how I do it. So yeah, what I was going to say or really offer as advice is one of the things I struggled with a lot was when I was watching a lot of the personal freedoms getting taken away in Australia. And I used to live there, and I get messages now, a year and a half after moving, from people saying, "You're right, I wish I'd left as well," where the police can now come to your door and arrest you over a Facebook post because you have no freedom of speech, where you have all these other issues. There are people calling for violence against police officers or members of parliament that are kind of at that breaking point. You have this thing called, we didn't have while I was there, but it's basically a rather racist approach to get rid of all immigrants because cost of living is going up instead of actually fixing systems. Everyone's really mad about it and are just getting violent with, the new people. It's our group against yours. And I left. That was, honestly, I got rid of it. I have the pleasure of being a citizen in another country, so just left. But one of the things that I struggled with for a while was when I was looking in online spaces for other people to talk about, you get people that are just mad. There's different categories of people. People that are just mad. You get people that might agree with you on 1 or 2 points, but then have some very, very bad ideas that kind of go with them. Whether that's, conspiracy theorists or people that are part of the sovereign citizen movement. And one of the things that I found that really helped me when I was going through that is, if, like you said before, you're not wanting to start a political party, because I considered getting into politics at one point, but I would have had to have my secondary citizenship, so I didn't. What I found helped me was cutting everyone else out and just looking, what is the society that I want to live in? What are the core concepts about how I want to live my life? Do I want these freedoms? If so, what are the responsibilities I have to the people around me to ensure that they also have those things? And what am I willing to compromise on? What am I not? And rather than arguing about existing, systems of government and power and what would be needed to enforce these things, give the state more control, what I found the best thing for me was to just be, what can I do in my day-to-day life to live as an example of the values that I want to see propagated? So, I can sit in a room with someone that I vehemently agree with who's got some really, effed up concepts about people, and I can argue against those people all day. But there is no point where they're going to sway me or try and convince me otherwise it's going to work if I can just say to them, look, I'm a living example of, like, for example, I'm polyamorous, I'm bisexual, I have a trans family. No one's going to tell me that, a trans person's value is less or that there's something wrong with being gay. Grew up in a cult. They did that. Didn't work out well for them. They've lost most of the members, thank God. Forgive the pun. But, this happens. And I just found, you can live your life in a way where you become the revolution. You can inspire other people to be better people. You can meet people where they're at. You can engage with bad ideas without needing to force yourself through being right, without needing to push policy that pushes those things. And honestly, if someone was to come to my door when I was living in America right now, you bet your ass I'd be having people from Mexico hiding in my basement. You bet your ass if they passed a law going against queer people, I'd be harboring trans people in my basement. And I would absolutely go to jail for it.
Well, so here's something that I think I'll push both of you on, actually. I don't think that this has to do with immigration. I don't think this has to do with Mexicans.
Neither do I.
The number of people who were deported under Obama and Biden is jaw-dropping. We didn't throw this big of a stink when they were doing it. I think that they got sloppy.
In my defense, I was 13.
Fair. I wasn't. And so if anything, I'm calling myself out more than you, Atticus. But really, I think that you saw a really big thing happen, and that is that Trump suspended habeas corpus. You have the right to a trial, and he suspended the right to a trial for people being deported, which has the added effect of meaning that you can arrest whoever you want and deport them wherever you want, and they don't ever get to stand before a judge.
You can even go to a courthouse and arrest them there.
Yeah, and
when they're in front of a judge.
But
and then you can arrest the judge for interfering if they try and get them out of the back door.
Yep.
Because they're there to do the right thing. It's bullshit.
Yep. And because you don't get to stand before a judge and say, hey, I'm wrongly accused, then this becomes an apparatus to disappear your enemies. And so I think that this is not about immigration. Immigration is the shape that it has, but it's about suspending habeas corpus. I don't think that people are... I'm glad, I'm hoping that more people are saying, hey, I would look out for my undocumented neighbors. That's wonderful, but I don't think that is the driving force behind why people are upset about this. Atticus, do you have any pushback there, or do you agree?
Largely, I agree. I think it is realistic. It is not cynical to think that the Obama administration really realistically should be looked at for crimes against humanity allegations, for how many people they deported, for their drone program,
and drone
for
strikes.
any number of issues. And realistically, I think the United States has kind of rested on its laurels as a global leader since Roosevelt, that we just haven't held any of our leaders criminally accountable. It's very strange. We are unique in the global stage on that front. I can think of 4 or 5 presidents off the bat that realistically should have had a trial for international crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
And as it's not funny, but it's kind of jaw-dropping how we just kind of go, they're the president of the United States. It's what you do. It's the American way. It's horrifying. So I think you've got a point.
Knox, it sounded like you were going to chime in. What's up?
Yeah, no, well, I was going to say, like, you guys might not be able to, and correct me if I'm wrong because I don't live in the US, but my understanding is the Supreme Court has basically given Trump a carte blanche. Not only has he put a whole heap of them in there, but they've basically said as the president, you can't be prosecuted for anything you've done once you're president, or after. And if they're going to do that, I think the solution with the global community is fantastic. And, don't get me wrong, this isn't having go on Americans, but America has always been a key pillar of the current world order since World War II, through the Cold War. And one of the things that they've really pushed for is international law and being respected. There is nothing stopping Mandani or anyone else, once Trump is no longer the president, from organizing someone to pick him up and drop him off at The Hague for crimes against humanity. He's already demonstrated by his own actions it's totally okay to invade a country, take out their head of state, and put them on trial for something in a different country, despite the fact that they're a world leader from somewhere else.
So, I the only thing that I would say about that is that a cornered animal will lash out. The reason why they were able to get Duterte is because they didn't wait for him to be voted out. It was actually his own military leadership that nabbed him. So,
I'm talking about Venezuela, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Duterte is a whole other country entirely, a whole other story. What I mean by that, though, is, and whether that's the practical example they use or not, what I'm saying is people make choices the same way that it would be your choice to hide someone who you think is a target and just refuse to cooperate with the secret state police. ICE, the people that wear masks, work for the state, and police people in places they shouldn't, which, by the way, is where Gestapo comes from. It's blending 3 words, Geheimnispolizei, in German, which literally stands for secret state police. And while I agree that ICE is its own evil machination, it is functioning right now as a direct branch of the head of state. So that's why I think people make that comparison.
So then why don't you go with that? So then why don't you go with SS? Why Gestapo? Because SS was
because the Gestapo reported directly through Hitler's administration to him. Like, that's why. So did the SS, but the Gestapo were the ones actually going around doing things. The SS were more intelligence. The Gestapo were boots on the ground, which is why they get called that. They're the guys that would knock up on your door. They would run the camps.
If that's the case, then I'm entirely flipped around. If I'm entirely flipped around, I'm open to being corrected for sure.
Yeah, but that's why the comparison's there, because the SS and the Gestapo worked together, but they had very different goals. The Gestapo were the people that would rock up on your door. The SS would investigate. The Gestapo would be at a concentration camp killing you, and the Gestapo was specifically targeting political enemies and people in office. So, for example, if there was a region that Hitler, I get them confused sometimes, but we'll get there. If there was a particular area that Hitler didn't like, he would send the Gestapo in there in general. The SS would be operating, doing their stuff with the general civilians, but the Gestapo would specifically be taking out political dissidents, the same way that Trump is targeting areas like Portland or Michigan.
So
that is where people are getting that comparison.
I think that the format of being live, the best I can do is say, assuming that you're right, then I appreciate being corrected. I'm not trying
to correct you. I think they're unable, but that's where that comes from. If you keep hearing that, that's why that keeps being said.
Yeah, I that is encouraging me to do a little bit more looking back at that. Okay, Addie, what's on your mind here?
I was daydreaming a little bit for a world after.
Sorry, I'm ranting.
No. I loved the rant. The rant made me feel comfortable, and I was like, what is this going to look like if we get accountability? Like, what type of statues and virtues do we move forward with? And my mind kind of wandered to the statuary hall in the Capitol, where Minnesota could realistically commission statues of Alex Preddy and Miss Good, who were executed by ICE, put their likenesses in perpetuity in the Capitol where they are represented, where people work for them. So the representatives have to look at their faces every day when they go to work. That's the kind of shit that I want to see. Virtue signaling, sure. But we're coming up, as I mentioned earlier, there's a world after Trump. There's a world after MAGA.
Yep.
We have to rebuild. We have to reform. So if we're going to do that, this next generation of leaders that are about to take power, because we're not going to have a Hillary Clinton type in 2028. We're not going to have a Joe Biden type in 2028. God help us. I'm gunning for an AOC type. I want somebody who.
Unfortunately, you're not going to get a Bernie, but Bernie would have been great. But,
no, Bernie would have been great. I worked on his campaign. I would have loved to have Bernie. But I think a Latin woman who was a working class person before she got elected, who has not become a creature of the machine, who knows how to legislate, I want her in there. It doesn't have 100%. To be her. It just has to be someone with a similar resume. So I'm looking 10 years ahead because I'm excited by what you're talking about. Because I believe as you're talking about it that there is a world where we land this plane and we do it well.
100%. And here's the funny thing, right? Not to go into a grim topic or get you monetized, Eric, but every time I say that, you always just tell me, well, don't stress about it.
Knox.
If you think about it,
Knox.
The world's going. Yep.
I'm stressed about it.
You're stressed about it?
I'm stressed about it.
Okay, cool. Never mind. I will not bring up the topic or the example I was about to bring up then. But what I will say is, 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of the stuff that's coming out as factual and documented by the DOJ right now would have been called a conspiracy theory. And I think under a different administration, the same way, it's kind of a comforting thought really, the same way the world went on, and most people were oblivious to it when that horrible stuff was happening, the same way once everything's done and change has been made to prevent that stuff happening again, the world will heal and move forward. Like, time turns. Yeah. Doesn't matter who dies, doesn't matter what happens. We keep going as a people, we keep going as a planet, and the Earth's going to spin whether we're, stressing about it or not.
Honestly, that is a,
not going to demonetize you with that topic, but yeah.
Oh, we're not getting monetized regardless. You got to be kidding me. No way.
Gotcha.
Not with this topic. Yep. No. But it's okay. We're not making much of monetization anyway.
Fair enough.
I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the conversation in the community, and we need to talk about it.
Same.
And I think that I do just want to build on that just a little bit, because I do want to offer hope. I don't just want to be this dark rain cloud, and what you're saying does give me a lot of hope that no matter what, we are going to be coming out the other side of this. People are talking about the unity of the nation. Well, guess what? If it's not united, we're still going to be there on the other side. We're still going to need leadership. We're still going to be pushing for our values and wanting to see the world be a better place. You know, the only difference would be that you maybe need a passport to fly across the United States. Okay.
And the other thing that's probably going to put a smile on your face, just building on that topic.
What's up?
If you really think about it, with all the horrible shit going on right now, you want unity. I've never seen people more united in calling out something evil in my life. In all of international politics, the whole world is looking at those documents, going, what the effing hell happened? How does this involve multiple heads of states from different countries, multiple diplomats? Everyone agrees that's not okay. So when I was talking before about how do you, engage with people with different views, and you need to ground yourself in something, I think it's a very nice sign that we're all grounded in the fact that we look at the common humanity and the innocence of children, the people who are vulnerable, and that we are angered when they're hurt. Because what that shows is that people care about the person next to them, whether that person is young, old, black, white, doesn't matter. The vast majority of humanity is on the side that wants to see people thrive and that wants to make the world a better place. I think if people focus on what they can do day to day, which a lot of people already are, look at the people standing in solidarity in your state and other places around the world with you. I mean, look at Palestine and Israel, for example. The amount of support that the Palestinians have right now is incredible. You have flotillas from Samud with citizens from all different countries in the Samud flotilla going out there, despite the fact they're getting arrested planning another trip over. People are calling for humanity right now in a way that just would not have been possible, 20 years ago with the technology we had. That's a wonderful thing.
It is. And as someone living here, I think I'm just concerned that, let's say the midterm elections happen, if they do, and let's say Democrats win a majority out of the midterms, which hopefully they would.
Here's to hoping. Yep.
I think that would do a good job to mollify and calm down the people who are upset and standing in solidarity against it. But I don't think that new power structure would actually be able to fix the things that we're mad about.
No, not at all, because if you think about it, that administration had those documents for what, 3 or 4 years? I'm pretty sure it was early in the Biden administration it came out. That wasn't released to the public. That was all kept under wraps. Yeah. So, I think the problem is that the administration is disconnected to people. I think most people have a common sense of decency, whether it's evolutionary, whether it's something religiously installed. Sure. There's a common humanity in most people. And I think when people start talking about changing systems of power, they focus on this team or that team. The solution isn't going to come from a government. It doesn't have to come from you starting a political party. That's where it's going to be. The government's going to obviously have to change, or change their approach at things. But real change starts with people. It starts with you looking at your neighbor, recognizing that no matter what you disagree on, there are things that you both commonly want, and that there is a goal that you can work towards, making your community a better place for you, your children, and the people you love, regardless of who you are. And I think people are going to do that no matter what happens. If you have everything go to shit in your country, let's say there's a full civil war, let's hypothetically go the whole, worst case scenario, where everything breaks down. Let's assume the dollar completely tanks, the economy goes. People are still going to be growing food and are still going to look to their neighbor to find some way of getting things to people in need. Yeah. And those communities are going to build up new leadership. Look what the Black Panthers did. They didn't just, everyone labels them a terrorist group. And sure, they were rough, but look what they did. They provided, food programs for kids, ways for people to get to school, taxi services. That was a community who you could argue at the time. And again, I don't live there, but African Americans have always had a bad deal.
Yeah, they've always had,
they got together instead of, still do. Look at the prison system, right? There's slavery in a nutshell, but you have people getting together to organize and do things, and that shaped and changed policy over time. And the government starts doing all these things. I don't like the term enshittification, but they start doing them to take the power away from these groups by providing less of a service, so they can erode it away. But if people just keep doing those things, keep being the best people they can, they're going to get through it. Yeah. You guys will get through it. It sucks now, but the sun is going to come up tomorrow.
Yeah, that is a fucking beautiful way to put that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, let's say the world went to hell, kids would still need to go to school, firefighters would still be called if somebody's house lit on fire, and your neighbors would still need you if they were in need. I love that.
Yep. And if your house caught fire, what are the odds that your neighbors are going to come help you out? Even if they don't know you, just because they don't want the fire to spread. People have a tendency to protect the people around them. And if you want to break people down, the way the Nazis did it, and there's a very, I'm probably going to misquote this, but there's a very famous saying, the gist of it goes, when they came for this group, I did nothing. When they came for my neighbors, I did nothing. And eventually when they came for me, there was no one there left to help me. The biggest danger right now is people separating and thinking that it's all about which side you're on. Trying to start a war between two people or two parties or two groups or, 5 different groups over the same thing is just people setting people against each other. People in power, so you don't look to the power structures and say, well, you've been in charge, how the hell did this happen? We demand better. We're going to replace you. We're going to vote you out. We're going to get rid of you, and we're going to put in people that give a shit. We're going to really bring people in, and that's what needs to happen. Problem legislatively you have is you have an electoral college that, I wasn't deciding.
You had me up until this part. I don't know, Atticus, is there anything you want to dive into before I speak up here? No?
I think he's right.
All the way up until the end for me. I think that
what got you, Eric?
Well, I think we live in an oligarchy. I think that that big money oligarchs are the ones who are funding these both parties, and
and no matter who wins, it's not you.
Yeah, and so
the idea I completely agree with that.
So the idea that we're gonna install somebody to make the change, it's like, no, we're gonna install somebody who has been pre-selected.
No, that's not what I was trying to say at all.
No.
That's why I brought up the example of your electoral college screwing it. That is the oligarchy getting in and not letting you pick.
Okay, then we're on the same page.
Knox, I'm talking more about a grounds root level.
I love that. Knox, you should write a book. I like listening to you talk. Thank you.
Thank you. We always get into weird topics, but yeah.
I truly though, it's Knox. Aren't you a theist?
I am.
Yeah. All y'all who say that
remember. We had many chats over the years. I've chatted to you in the after
Never
show.
Mind. I don't agree with Knox anymore.
Yeah.
Fuck off, Atticus.
I'm not a Christian, but I got raised in a cult in on a compound, but it's not really, I love Jesus, I just don't like the church, and I don't believe in, one God above all, but I'm practicing pagan, I practice ritual magic, I do all sorts of, weird jams, it's right up V's alley.
Yeah. I love the coalition building aspect of it, and I just want to point that out as hey, this isn't somebody I have everything in common with, but damn straight we stand.
We disagree on heaps of stuff.
Yeah, but we will stand side by side in this. Knox, thank you.
You're welcome, and then that's like a practical example of the point I was trying to get at, that what helped me was finding common ground with people, because I think what it means to be human, the unique experience with all our diversity, with all the things that make us different, is what brings us together, because there is a commonality underneath it. Maslow called it his hierarchy of needs. We all want a place to belong. We all want love. We all want food. We all want these things. Mm-hmm. And I think by government depriving its people of those, when its job should be to provide those services to them and allow them to thrive, that is how you keep people impoverished. That is how you keep people under control, and that is how you keep people losing no matter who they vote in and who wins an election. I think the only way to change that is for people very much like Gandhi to turn around and look at their neighbor, regardless of where they come from, and say, brother, I got you. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to take care of you. It's the same reason that the Freemasons in Europe no longer wear the aprons. I'm a Freemason. I'm not saying that as an outsider, but there is a historical reason you don't see us in regalia, because the Nazis hunted us for helping everyone else. The gays, the Jews, the Rom, all of us.
I think there's more there, but I think that that's trailing. That's a rabbit trail that I think I would be following down.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. Knox, I think we're going to move on to the next caller, but my gosh, thank you for calling.
Thanks for taking the call, and always good to hear, Eric.
Nice
to meet you, Atticus.
It's great talking to you. All right.
Catch you guys. Bye.
Bye. New Zealand. Sometimes I forget just how broad the audience is for the show.
I prefer Old Zealand.
God damn it, Atticus. That was funny. That was Knox. You're a theist? I don't agree anymore.
Never mind. For everybody who will take that out of context, this is a fucking joke.
Yeah. All right. We have a caller in the United States, in Alabama. Let's talk to Ben. Ben, you're live on the show.
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm calling from exotic Alabama over in the theocratic states of America.
Exotic Alabama. I think that's a first for me. I have not heard exotic Alabama.
We do have flying squirrels.
So you know what? That is not fair though. I have driven through Alabama and beautiful, truly, truly beautiful country. So like exotic, deserved. Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, Ben, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I heard the two of you talking about ideology, and it kind of didn't jive with my, I guess, previous interpretations of the word. Because like when I think Atticus, when you were saying you were when you were an ideologue, it sounded to me like you were an idealist. This is the way I would put it.
Yeah. So clarification: my ideology may sound idealistic, but it's an ideology nonetheless. And the way that I kind of interact with the world is prescribed by my ideology. The way I vote is prescribed by that. Like this is how I govern myself. This is my specific ideology, politically or economically, etc. And then I make decisions past that. I don't put the party before that and then find the ideology. I find that a lot of centrists do that, which is why centrism is a moving target. They don't actually have a whole lot of set values. They go to the center. And I find that to be a useless interpretation a useless execution of one's political will.
What are your thoughts, Ben?
I guess I've normally heard like the negative side of ideology, so I guess I haven't heard it expressed in a neutral term.
Yes, ideology it's just a system of ideas and ideals, and it's one that forms the basis of political, policy, economic, social, culinary. Like it's just a list of descriptive values in which you interact with the world. So when someone calls someone an ideologue, often at times it is in a negative context. I think a lot of Republicans are more partisan now than they were before, but in the mid 90s they were ideologues. So the term can be used in different contexts, but it's just a descriptor for what I kind of put forward first. I put forward my values and my ideology first rather than my party membership.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's just that I've seen a lot of people who I think who might even describe themselves as ideological, who are, like people in MAGA or people in conservative churches and stuff, who they have this strong ideology and this identity to that group or whatever, but if you scratch beneath the paint a little bit, there's like no ideals whatsoever. Oh,
interesting.
Zero ideals.
I'm gonna push back just a smidge. I think that's a really interesting perspective. I don't think most of MAGA has any ideology. I don't think they're ideologues. I think they're partisans, and I think they are what's the word? The word that's coming to my mind is idolatrists. And I'm not sure that's the correct word that I'm looking for. I think they put him on a pedestal. I think they will go whichever way he goes. They have no actual guiding moral compass, which is why most of the entire party has been able to be shifted to Trump's will. Because if they had any sort of guiding principles, more of them would be standing up for him. Like, for example, Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis is the Republican majority leader now that Mitch McConnell is actively decomposing. So Tom Tillis.
I mean, we can all hope that becomes more literal soon, but yeah, that's okay. Go ahead. Sorry. He stalled out. No, his system's rebooting.
Yeah, every once in a while. But no, Tom Tillis actively, like, literally hates Stephen Miller. He has waited decades to climb the ladder of the United States Senate. He has had his colleagues say, yes, you are the person ready to lead us in this moment. And the president that he gets is a retired game show host who can't shut the fuck up for 10 seconds on Twitter long enough to stop having crises that are unforced, that are manufactured of his own volition, that he keeps stepping on rakes. His president keeps stepping on rakes, and Tom Tillis fucking hates this guy because he now has the power that he wants to institute his own values and ideology and like his vision for the Republican Party, and he has to deal with Donald John Trump. Like this man is an ideologue through and through. Trump is a partisan. And you can see that with kind of how it started when Trump was running for office, and he came down the escalator and he said that Mexicans were not the best and they were rapists and whatnot. And then everyone was like, "Oh, it's fucking crazy." And then the people started going to his rallies, and people were like, "Yeah, no, I believe that." And Republicans were like, "Shit, maybe we believe there should be a vetting system." And if you look back, that's exactly what happened. And then he was like, "He's a war hero because he was captured," about John McCain. And they were like, "Wow, that's really bad. Holy shit, people aren't going to stand for that." And then people were like, "Yeah, fuck John McCain." And then the Republican Party was like,
So
maybe fuck John McCain.
I honestly, the example that I think of is Ted Cruz.
Yes.
Yes. That like Trump was like, that's lying Ted. That's lying Ted Cruz. He's this soft, weak little, whatever.
His dad killed John F. Kennedy.
His wife is ugly, like.
Yeah, his dad killed JFK.
Yeah. Just shat all over Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz, was, like, if he had principles to stand behind at all, he'd have punched him in the jaw on principle.
Instead, he's like, "No, Donald, I think you might be right, and I'm gonna settle back to my corner." Yes,
sorry,
thank
Daddy.
you, Donald, very much for that. He's a spineless, feckless.
So are you saying that that's kind of exemplary of MAGA, that they are much like Ted Cruz?
They're a weather vane. They are absolutely a weather vane. They don't have value. They have goals.
Mm-hmm.
They want to feel that they have power, and they want to feel that they are getting a good deal. They want to feel like they're cared about, there's money in their pocket, that they can breathe at the end of the day. And that is a very nebulous goal. And because it's so nebulous, Trump and Stephen Miller and the entire administration, the entire Republican Party can do whatever they want to say that. They can say undocumented immigrants are draining your bank account, when they're not, because people don't know the intricacies of how the immigration system works, of how people can get public assistance, because these people don't look really for it. Like, they'll go for it in dire straits, but they may not have the ability to navigate this complex bureaucratic system. They just know that the bureaucratic system has fucked them. And therefore, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Therefore, MAGA is my friend. Is the kind of leaps that we're talking about here. They want to be cared about. They want their government to give a shit about them. And the Democrats shat the bed on that front. And then MAGA is saying they're paying lip service, and which is more than a lot of what the Democratic Party could have said. Like, did they care? Sure. But they didn't know how to communicate it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll step off my soapbox. That was
No. It's okay. You got me thinking about, like, if we were to start talking ideologically about what we want to see, right? Instead of being that weather vane, we need to say, "Hey, we stand for accountability. We stand for responsibility." And I feel like the Democratic Party tried to fill those shoes and say, "Yes, we're accountable, we're responsible." And yet, what did they do? They like you said, they shot the bed when it came to prosecuting things, when it came to releasing things like the Epstein files, when it comes to respecting the crazy bullshit, when sycophants were put into place in places of power. Oh, well, we're just going to respect the office. That's not accountability. That is you being a bitch. And that's not what we need.
Every 2028 presidential candidate should be asked point blank, will you use your power as commander of the Secret Service to order the Secret Service to take Trump and deliver him to The Hague? Because he has done irreparable damage. And they will have the power to do that.
Yep. And if they're not willing to do that, I'd
will they?
Fuck them. Yeah. That is actually what accountability and responsibility sounds like to me.
It is.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of people who maybe like Tillis who like as you said, like you said that he has an ideology. Now, it doesn't mean they're exactly consistent, because there's a whole lot of people out there who believe very strongly in pro-life, but if you scratch a little bit beneath the surface, it's like they don't give a shit about anything that's associated with that other than the abortion itself. And it's, I don't know, their so-called ideals just aren't there either sometimes.
Well,
look at Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham historically is a really, really good example of this. If you need any example of what I mean by a partisan over an ideologue, it's Lindsey Graham.
Oh. And yeah, partisans, reminds me a lot of, like if you think about the worst kind of sports fan, they're just rah, 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 my team, and they don't care if they don't give a damn if their team is cheating to win. They just want their team to win.
It's timely that you mentioned that, because today's Super Bowl Sunday.
Go
Super
Birds.
Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
Not the Eagles birds, but the other birds on the
Go
other
what?
coast.
Who's in the Super Bowl?
So when people say "Go Birds," they usually mean the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
But the Seattle Seahawks are in the Super Bowl today, and they are also birds. So therefore, go Birds.
Got it.
Wow, they're my home team.
Yeah.
That I didn't hear about back in the day.
Yeah.
Seahawks and the Pats.
The Pats and the Seahawks. And
Got it.
As somebody who does not like the Patriots, we're going for the Seahawks. Also, they're my hometown team.
Okay.
Hometown. as close to Portland is going to get to an NFL team in the next century.
Yeah,
Seahawks were so mediocre when I was a kid. It astonished me when they won the Super Bowl last time.
I grew up with the Cardinals.
The last time.
The Cardinals are the current record holders of the longest drought without a championship. Now that the Cubs have had their World Series win in 2016. So,
I grew up Mexican in Southern California. The Raiders were a big deal.
Yeah.
Even after they left Oakland. You better. There were a lot of Raiders. Anyway.
You mean the Las Vegas Raiders?
Who knows? They're so teams are so fair weather.
Did you not know they went to Las Vegas?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Really?
They have a whole ass stadium.
Huh.
It's like right off the strip. It's a jet black stadium in the middle of a desert.
I mean, that's fair. Like, they call Raider fans the black hole for a reason. Like, it's
a sick stadium, but I'm so curious as to what their energy bill is.
Interesting. We're way out. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that sports teams are a great example of just like a fair weather ideals. Because how many times have you seen a sports team just say, "We don't like it here. We're going to go to another city"? Like the Seahawks even threatened to go to LA if we didn't build them a stadium. And one of those teams that snuck away in the night from Maryland and went somewhere else.
I don't know.
It's just they're so fair weather.
It's interesting when you compare that with the fans who are ride or die from now until the end of time. Like I said,
the players ain't. The players ain't. Even the teams ain't. The owners ain't, except maybe Green Bay. But anyway.
All right. Yeah, I don't think I might put it on in the background, but I'm not terribly interested in the Super Bowl.
Me neither.
I'm only going to a Super Bowl party to hang out with my partner.
Okay. Yep. This is.
I was like, "What do you want to do on Sunday?" They're like, "I'm going to a Super Bowl party." I was like, "I guess I'm going to a Super Bowl party."
Okay. Ben, I appreciate the call. Has this kind of shifted your view on conversations around ideology?
I guess, yeah. I think it is a more generic term. It is kind of funny because I also had a more, I think, it may have just been a factor of how the word was used, like back when I was in college. Was like the word, even the word belief was a bit different. Like,
well, I don't know about you, but when I was little, the word secular was just another word for evil. I didn't know what secular meant until so much later in life. I thought secular was just like pro-Satanist. No, secular is just...
Oh, wow.
Secular just means not religious. So, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because, like, I think, because even the word, like, believe or believer, belief, used to be, I mean, when I heard it, it was more entangled with faith. So that, you know, we'd refer to people who believe things on faith as believers. Whereas, I mean, you know, nowadays, everywhere I hear, it's much more general. As in any idea you think is true is a belief. And then it just, you know, depends on how you arrived at that conclusion that matters. So it's interesting that ideology maybe had that same general meaning that I only really saw a specific connotation. Like,
yeah,
I think I saw Stephen Novella wrote a blog post some years ago that saying that skepticism is anti-ideology.
Really?
But he may have been using the similar connotation I was.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I would need to look that up. I don't know. You got me thinking about beliefs now. Did you ever hear that, was it faith is the essence of things hoped for and what was it?
Something about unseen.
Conviction of things not seen, I believe. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So obviously you do. Yeah.
Yeah. And that it's essentially, it's belief without, like, evidence.
Yeah. Well, as an adult, yeah, that is now how I understand it as well. But, Ben, thank you for calling in. I appreciate you.
Uh-huh.
Take care.
All right. Have a good weekend.
You too. Enjoy your Super Bowl time. I don't know what I'm going to do. I never liked football.
I go for the commercials, but I stay for the pulled pork sandwiches.
You know, I wouldn't say no to pulled pork. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I know that like there's a big thing today about the Super Bowl halftime show.
Is there? I don't give a shit about
like
halftime show.
Really big deal, like Turning Point USA.
Bad, yeah, with like Bad
Bunny. Yeah, and how Turning Point USA is doing their own halftime show to compete with it because, and it's like headlined by Kid Rock. Which, Jesus Christ!
So I think I read something about that this morning. One of the people going to the participation trophy halftime show is like a country singer.
The participation, okay.
Yeah, he's a country singer, and he posted he did the black background text on screen post to his Instagram. He was like, people are asking me why I'm choosing to perform at the show. It's been 20 years since a country star has been the halftime performer at the Super Bowl, and I want to be able to tell my kids I performed at the halftime at the Super Bowl. And I was like, dude, you still haven't performed at halftime at the Super Bowl. You're not performing at the Super Bowl. And I don't know if he knows this. I don't know if he... I'm curious as to tomorrow, does he update his website to be performed at the 2026 halftime show?
I'm sorry, but Beyonce went country. Didn't I
yeah, but she's a lady and both not white. So is it really country? The people are going to clip that, and I mean them not clip that.
Y'all heard it, everybody. Clip that.
I love Beyonce.
All right. I had a crush on Beyonce.
Didn't we all?
Yeah. You know, it was more Mariah Carey though, I think, than Beyonce.
The single ladies dance is when I decided I have some questions about how I would like to dress.
Nice. Atticus, I'm feeling fired up, and unless we get any other calls, I might just wrap things up early. Let me get the phone number out one more time. I'm enjoying the conversations, but like I would rather go out with things going well than things slowing down. So
should I throw gas on the fire?
You know what? What's the gas on the fire before I put the phone number out?
I'm not convinced that God exists and trans children exist. They have always existed. They will continue to exist. So therefore, trans affirming care should be provided to minors.
Cheers. 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436 or tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Call and argue with Atticus.
I'm feeling feisty. Sorry, guys.
No, that's okay. So I did have a couple of things written down. I want to make sure that I say this. Okay, so you did bring up the, would you use your power as head of the Secret Service to turn Trump over to... Mm-hmm. I've got one more for you.
Okay.
So I brought up USAID already in this episode, right? How big USAID is as a humanitarian organization. It's been so much that just in flexing who they give aid to, they have seen and supported like governments rising and falling. Mm-hmm. It's that big. When USAID was cut, there have been studies that have projected how many people are going to die from that. Projections are looking at upwards of 14 million people dying as a result of USAID getting cut by Elon Musk. I believe that
just a gentle 2.5 Holocausts.
Yeah. So I think that if we're looking at that, we need to toss Elon Musk in there as well for crimes against humanity.
Oh my God, yes. Get him off the Tesla board. Get him into a padded cell where he can play with his cars on the mattress on the floor and talk about whatever he needs to talk. Give him an AI chatbot.
Let him cry about
Grok
genocide.
Into an iPad on the side of the cell and just let him chit chat with Grok for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But put me in charge of the algorithm.
Grok got woke.
I'm transgender.
Yeah, I think that needs to be remembered. That needs to be brought up, and there also needs to be accountability for our finances. Like way too much money has been sucked up into the pockets of oligarchs here in the United States. Every single penny needs to be taken back. Every single penny.
Absolutely.
And then punishment.
Also, maximum income tax. At this point, with Elon Musk on track to be a trillionaire, I think we have a very strong case to push for a maximum income. And even if it's not where I would like it to be, which is about realistically, I think we could get 10 under the right circumstances. I think it should be at 999 million because I don't think billionaires should exist. But I think realistically, we could at this moment push for a maximum income cap of like your net worth can't be above $250 billion. And I think we could do that. I think even MAGA folks could agree $250 billion may be excessive.
Sorry, I forgot that I was muted. Yeah, no, I think I would go further, and at that point, I should probably just back off. We do have a caller who is not cis, who disagrees with you. So
interesting.
You can talk to our Irish caller, Keena. Let me get Keena on the air. Keena, you're live.
Hello.
Hello.
For clarity, I am Irish in the sense that I am in an Irish asylum system, but I am originally American, unfortunately.
I mean, you're in good company.
Yeah. So yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
so
earlier.
I'm going to let the sparks fly between the two of you, and I'm going to enjoy it. I might make some popcorn. Please go right ahead. Atticus, I'm going to give you the floor.
No, I want to hear what Keena disagrees with first.
Yeah. So earlier you said you want to fight anyone who thinks that trans women are, that it makes sense to say that trans women are socialized male, and I think that makes sense. So I guess we're fighting now. I think, in a sense, like you're picking at something that is real and exists, right? Which is that as a trans woman, to be socialized male is a very different experience than to be socialized male as a cis man. But I also think that if you're like, say, a gay man, then it's a very different experience to be socialized male than a straight man. If you're an effeminate man versus a very masculine man, because I just think that these things, a lot of things look very different based on what demographics you fall into, and we're kind of used to things looking a certain way because they look that way to us, and they look that way in works of fiction because we look like the majority of the people in works of fiction. I am also painfully white.
Kina, hold on.
Yeah.
Atticus dropped out. Give it just a minute. And
no.
They'll be right. I know, but I don't want you to have to backtrack too much. So I need to hold on.
Okay.
It's a good thing I wasn't picking my nose. The the video went straight back to me. I'm taking a puff on my vape, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm on screen. Let's get Atticus back in. See where things dropped out. All right, Atticus is back. There you go.
I'm so angry. That was so awful. I hate. I was. Anyway, Kina, you were talking about how. I'm furious right now. Internet. Wow. You're talking about how being socialized male is kind of a nebulous concept. It looks different depending on what traits or attributes that you have as a person, etc. And then it cut out, and I committed so much property damage while the camera was not rolling.
All I said after that was that we for me and for probably you as well, because we are both painfully white, and I mean, I for one grew up thinking I was middle class, whether or not I actually was. We're used to things looking a certain way. We have an idea of what being socialized male looks like, and it looks close enough to what is on, what is shown on TV, that it makes sense that, our brain thinks, oh yeah, that's what it is to be socialized male. But I don't think it's that concrete a thing. It's just too nebulous to say, because it doesn't look this way, it doesn't count when we do it.
That's a good clarification. So do you think we should change terms from saying socialized male and just say socialized as a man? Because I think because we're talking about gender, and gender is different from sex. I think that since gender is so culturally and societally specific, we should probably change words to better align with how we're using the definition. So socialized as a man. And from there...
Or socialized mask, but yeah.
Yeah. Mask. Yeah, good clarification. Even better. I still would kind of have to disagree, rather, and say that I still wasn't socialized masculinely. There are things inherent in me that are femme, for some reason, way, shape, or form. My older sister wanted a little sister. My dad was disappointed when my older sister started to treat me like a little sister. And I was like, no, that's how I want to be treated. I did this at 3 or 4. So the idea that I was getting in trouble for wanting my sister to treat me the way I wanted, that she was getting in trouble for treating me the way I was asking her to treat me, strange for me. I didn't understand it. And then being put into sports, and then I was immediately put into left field in Little League because I would be picking daisies and could not focus on the game because sports don't interest me. And again, these are all kind of stereotypes, and I don't want to hang my hat on these tentpole things that either are or aren't specific to the gender that we're talking about. I don't see how I was socialized as masculine. I was told to be masculine, but I don't know if that's the same thing as socializing. What do you think? Yeah.
Well, I just don't think there are there are cis men who have the same experiences, like same individual experiences, right? Even if as a whole, the constellation of experiences do not add up to, oh, well, this isn't me, let's go try the other one, right? Like all of these individual experiences of not liking sports or liking dolls, liking cutesy effeminate things, right?
Yeah.
Like there are cis men who have had those identical experiences. There are cis men who have had that experience of, you're telling me this is the sort of person I am assigned to be, and I am not this person.
So I'm curious, can someone be socialized in a gender that they actively disagree with?
Yes, because when we say socialized, like the person is not doing the socialized, they are being socialized upon. Society is saying, this is how we want you to be. This is how we're teaching you to exist in the world. And like, like to some extent, it's cooperative once you get old enough to like think rationally and like assert yourself. But
so the socialization is happening in your definition. The socialization is happening regardless of whether or not it is internalized. It's an external act.
I mean, whether it's entirely external or partially internal, like I'm still being given these experiences in the intent of teaching, right? Whether I learn the lesson they want me to learn or not.
Sure. Interesting. I have food for thought. I'm going to keep chewing on that. I liked that.
Glad it could help.
Okay.
I wouldn't go that. I wouldn't say you helped. Let's
okay. Glad I can throw a wrench in the works because I'm a goblin, a gremlin even, and I enjoy that too.
I'm glad. Kina, thank you for calling in. Appreciate you.
Thanks for taking my call. Bye.
Absolutely. So not only
now I'm good. If you want to end the show, that was fine.
not only is Kina just incredibly sweet, but Kina's also a volunteer.
They are,
and I'm really, really grateful for Kina. That's yay, good. I want to read some super chats because I think it's time to do that. We got one today, $5. Thank you for the chat, Space Barbarian. Space Barbarian says computers used to scream incomprehensibly when they connected to the internet. We failed to heed their warning.
Now I scream incomprehensibly when I have a Good Friday night.
And yet we fail to heed Atticus's warning. Look, you set yourself up for that.
I did.
You did. Atticus, how can people find you?
I'm on Blue Sky and TikTok and no other social media platforms because fuck Meta. Also fuck Oracle. We're working on I need a good place to send memes to my friends. But on Blue Sky, you can find me at atticuslin.bluesky.social. And on TikTok, you can find me at Atticus Things. If you comment on my videos and say something like ask me a question, I'll probably respond to you. I like talking. I like teaching. I like engaging.
Cheers. Atticus, I am always grateful to have you on. I know that we had a scheduling difference that happened when it comes to Elliot. Elliot's usually on this week, and we're going to be doing a shift. So I'm really, really appreciative of your agility in like shifting things around for other people. Thank you, as always. Yeah. Let's hang out this week. Let's find some time. Sure. I miss you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I know, Atticus, do you got to go right away, or do you want to, or are you able to hang out in the Discord for a little bit?
We're finishing early. I could probably hang for 20 minutes in the after show if anyone wants to show up.
Let's do that. Let's go. Let's hop over. Come say hi. Come hang out. We have a cool community, and we just get to chill for a bit. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. I don't know. I think that in the end, I do feel better. I feel like I needed a perspective shift. I feel like I'm not the only one. That we need to stop viewing things as just reacting to things that we're upset about, but we need to frame them in larger structures, in understanding how we want to see the world. And I think that we see evidence of that working. We see things like, Mamdani and DSA, in New York, and we can continue to see that. We need to focus this. We need to coalesce our values and our frustrations and our hopes for the future into the kind of ideological power that informs what we do socially, politically. It's important. And I think that between you and the callers, I feel more at peace now than I have in a while. So thank you. Truly. Really. Everybody, I'm Eric Murphy. Hold on. I forgot how to end the show. I'm Eric Murphy.
I'm Atticus Lynn.
This is Skeptic Generation.
And we're glad we had this talk.
That's how we do it.